the wisdom of personal change. True to his word, Julian showed up at my house the next evening. He still embodied radiant health and exuded a wonderful sense of calm. It was what he was wearing that made me a little uncomfortable. Adorning his obviously supple body was a long red robe topped by an ornately embroidered blue hood. "Greetings, my friend," Julian offered enthusiastically. "Greetings." "Don't look so alarmed. What did you expect me to wear? Armani?" We both started to laugh, softly at first. Soon our giggles had turned into guffaws. Julian certainly had not lost that wicked sense of humor. As we relaxed in my cluttered but comfortable living room, I couldn't help but notice the ornate necklace of wooden prayer beads dangling from his neck. "What are those? They're really beautiful." "More about these later," he said. "We have much to talk about tonight. Let's get started. I could hardly get anything done at work today. I was so excited about our meeting." Julian immediately started to reveal more about his personal transformation and the ease with which it was effected. He told me of the ancient techniques he had learned for mind control and for erasing the habit of worry. Though the conviction with which he spoke was clear, I began to grow skeptical. Was I the victim of some prank? This could not be real. "Come on, Julian, stop pulling my leg. This whole story is starting to smack of one of your gags," I suggested, breaking into my best fear grin. Julian remained calm and patient. Spotting the pot of tea I had left on the table next to him, he started to pour into my waiting cup. He poured until the cup was full, but then he kept on pouring. Tea started to trickle down the sides of the cup and into the saucer. "Julian, what are you doing? My cup is overflowing. No matter how hard you try, no more will go in." He looked at me for a long moment. "Please don't take this the wrong way. I really respect you, John. However, just like this cup, you seem full of your own ideas. And how can any more go in until you first empty your cup?" I was struck by the truth of his words. My many years in the conservative legal world, doing the same things every day with the same people who thought the same thoughts every day, had filled my cup to the brim. "Okay, I see your point," I admitted. "Perhaps all my years as a trial lawyer have made me a hardened skeptic. From the minute I saw you yesterday, something deep inside me told me that your transformation was genuine. Maybe I just didn't want to believe it." "John, tonight is the first night of your new life. I simply ask that you think deeply about the wisdom and strategies that I will share with you and apply them with conviction for a period of 1 month. You will experience changes within the workings of your mind, body, and even your soul that will astonish you. A lasting sense of well-being and balance will swiftly return to your life." Wow! The advice of the sages is just as current today as it was 5,000 years ago. It will not only enrich your inner world, it will enhance your outer world and make you far more effective in all that you do. Most importantly, it will work for anyone. But before I share this knowledge with you, I must ask you for a promise. Once you see the power of the strategies and skills shown to me by the sages of Savannah, you must make it your mission to pass this wisdom on to others who will benefit from this knowledge. By agreeing to do this, you will help me fulfill my own pact with Yogi Raman. I agreed without reservation. Julian began to teach me the system he had come to consider as sacred. At the heart of the Savannan system were 7 basic virtues, 7 fundamental principles which embodied the keys to self-leadership, personal responsibility, and spiritual enlightenment. Julian told me that Yogi Raman was the first to share the 7 virtues with him after a few months in Savannah. On a clear night, Raman knocked softly on the door of Julian's hut. In the voice of a gentle guide, he spoke his mind. "Since you have arrived, you have opened yourself up to our traditions and embraced them as your own. Tonight, on the eve of your 3rd month in Savannah, I will begin to share the inner workings of our system with you, not only for your benefit, but for the benefit of all those in your part of the world. I feel grateful that all I have learned over many years of silent contemplation will live within you." I looked at Julian and noticed that his eyes were now shut, as if he were transporting himself back to this fairy tale land that had showered the blessing of knowledge on him. Yogi Raman told me that the 7 virtues for a life overflowing with inner peace, joy, and a wealth of spiritual gifts were contained within a mystical fable. This fable was the essence of it all. He asked me to shut my eyes, as I have now done, here on the floor of your living room. He then told me to picture the following scene in my mind's eye. You are sitting in the middle of a magnificent, lush green garden. This garden is filled with the most spectacular flowers you have ever seen. The environment is supremely tranquil and silent. Savor the sensual delights of this garden and feel as if you have all the time in the world to enjoy this natural oasis. As you look around, you see that in the center of this magical garden stands a towering red lighthouse, 6 stories high. Suddenly, the silence of the garden is disturbed by a loud creaking as the door at the base of the lighthouse opens. Out stumbles a 9-foot-tall, 900-pound Japanese sumo wrestler who casually wanders into the center of the garden. It gets better, chuckled Julian. The Japanese sumo wrestler is naked. Well, actually, he's not totally naked. He has a pink wire cable covering his private parts. As the sumo wrestler starts to move around the garden, he finds a shiny gold stopwatch which someone had left behind many years earlier. He slips on it and falls to the ground with an enormous thud. The sumo wrestler is rendered unconscious and lies there, silent and still. Just when you think he has taken his last breath, the wrestler awakens, stirred by the fragrance of some fresh yellow roses blooming nearby. Energized, the wrestler jumps swiftly to his feet and intuitively looks to his left. He is startled by what he sees. Through the bushes at the very edge of the garden, he observes a long, winding path covered by millions of sparkling diamonds. Something seems to instruct the wrestler to take the path, and to his credit, he does. This path leads him down the road of everlasting joy and eternal bliss. After hearing this strange tale, Julian told me he was disappointed. He had expected to hear something earth-shattering, wisdom that would stir him to action and perhaps even move him to tears. Yogi Raman detected this and said, "At first it might seem to be frivolous and perhaps even childish, but I assure you that every element of the fable embodies a timeless principle for radiant living and has great depth of meaning. The garden, the lighthouse, the sumo wrestler, the pink wire cable, the stopwatch, the roses, and the winding path of diamonds are symbols of the 7 timeless virtues for an enlightened life. I can also assure you that if you remember this little story and the fundamental truths that it represents, you will carry within you all that you need to know to raise your life to its highest level. You will have all the information and strategies you will need to profoundly influence the quality of your life and the lives of all those you touch. And when you apply this wisdom on a daily basis, you will change mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually."